few weeks ago I reviewed a 177 Kalibrgun cricket with the synthetic stock and went through all the basic features of the gun. Today I've got the 22 caliber walnut version and we're going to treat this as a completely different gun. I'm going to give you all my thoughts and opinions and I'm going to be dead honest with you. This particular gun is on loan to me from Ergonomics warehouse in Johannesburg, and the video would not be possible without them. So if at the end of this video you feel like maybe this is the gun for you, give them a call or send them an email and they'll sort you out. Alright, we've got a lot to cover, let's get straight to it. When you think of all the Eastern European airgun manufacturers such as Kalibrgun, Ergonomics, CZ, you don't necessarily think of the really beautiful, really well-crafted guns that you'll find in England, for example. But what these guns lack in good looks, they definitely make up for in performance and functionality. The Eastern European guns always seem to be very efficient and very accurate, and this gun is a prime example of that. The build quality of this gun is definitely not quite on the same level as some of the other guns in its price range, and the stock is nowhere near as nice as some of the Manelli stocks you'll find on Air Arms, Daystate and BSA guns. But you are guaranteed a well-designed, efficient piece of equipment that's regulated, highly adjustable and easy to strip and maintain. I really like the Picatinny rail on this gun. I think it's just a little bit more robust than the 11mm dovetail rail. I fitted a 4-16 MTC Viper on this gun, also from Ergonomics warehouse. I think it's the perfect match for a gun like this. It's not too heavy, but it's got excellent glass and a really nice reticle. Being a bullpup, this gun does lack the comfort and the adjustability of a full-length rifle. The metalwork isn't going to feel very nice against your cheek, but the benefit of a bullpup is that it's nice and compact. It's easy to carry around in the bush, it's easy to pack away, and this actually comes at no cost to your accuracy or power because the barrel is the same length as the barrels on most full-length rifles. It's just the action that's moved back. There is an optional cheek piece available for this gun, but I do wish this was standard in all of these models. You'd expect the more compact guns to be a little bit lighter, but the truth is that this gun isn't really any lighter than some of the full-length rifles out there. What is nice though is that the weight distribution is all the way back, so although it's quite heavy, you don't really notice the extra weight. Because of the complex rod mechanisms that most bullpups use, the triggers generally aren't as good as the normal rifles. This is a fully adjustable two-stage trigger, but out of the box it definitely didn't feel as good as the triggers on my other rifles. However, I did find a video on YouTube by a man called Ernest Rowe that shows you how to adjust the trigger, and after a bit of tweaking it actually feels really nice and smooth. I love the magazine on this gun. It holds 14 shots, which is plenty, and it's very simple, which means that it's cheap to replace. The pellets are held in place with O-rings and they won't fall out even if you shake the magazines around. The stock also has magnetic magazine holders built in, which means that you can store your spares and access them very easily. One thing I don't like about the magazine is that there's a spring-loaded knob that needs to be pulled back every time you replace it, and you need two hands to do this, so it becomes quite frustrating. The FX Wildcat has a very similar style rotary magazine, but there's no annoying knob. It seems like the obvious winner in terms of design, but people tend to forget that the FX Wildcat only has an 8-shot capacity magazine, while this is 14 shots, so the Wildcat magazine needs to be replaced almost twice as often. If you fire this gun with and without the Shroud, you realize what a huge difference it makes. This gun is extremely quiet with the Shroud, and the good news is that it's quite easy to unscrew, which makes barrel cleaning very easy. And now we get to the exciting stuff, the performance and accuracy. I heard some pretty amazing things about this gun, so I got out the Crony and I got out the targets and I put this gun to the test. The very first thing I did was to shoot a full shot string with 18.1 grain JSB pellets from a 250 bar fill. This gun can actually be filled to 300 bar, but the owner's manual recommends a 250 bar fill for day-to-day use to increase the lifespan of the cylinder. The results show 65 consistent shots before the pressure drops below regulated pressure. From a 300 bar fill, you could probably get 75 to 80 shots quite easily, which I think is great for a 280cc air cylinder at this power. Shot to shot consistency isn't amazing, but what's important is that the entire string falls within an extreme spread of 30 feet per second. What this tells us is that the regulator is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The bell curves that you see on almost all unregulated guns is pretty much non-existent. This gives us an average of 913 feet per second and 33 foot-pounds of energy, but the best news is that the valve spring, the hammer spring and the regulator are all adjustable, which means that you can basically tweak the power of this gun to wherever you want it. And lastly, let's get to the most defining part of this review, the accuracy. Starting off at 50 yards, this gun was right on the money. Now, to be honest, it's exactly what I expected, considering the barrel in the Cricket is made by CZ in the Czech Republic. Couple that with the consistency that the regulator gives you, and you've got a keeper. These groups came in at just over half an inch, but with a better rest and a little bit more patience, I'm sure you could easily get groups half this size. My best group was actually one of my practice groups I shot off camera. At 11mm, it's one of the best groups I've ever shot at this distance. If you've never shot groups at 100 yards before, this should give you a good idea of just how far it is. Those little targets are a long way out. Add a 10 km/h wind from the left and things can get challenging. I cranked the horizontal turret a few minutes to the right to compensate for the wind, and I shot two groups. The first group I shot through the scope cam, and although you can't see the point of impact clearly, if you look closely you can see just how stable those pellets are in flight. The difference between a regulated and unregulated rifle will also be very apparent at ranges like this, because a slight drop in velocity can cause the group to open up quite substantially. I would say that the consistency is primarily what makes this such a good long-range gun. For the second group, I took the scope cam off and I put the camera down range. Again, the group is pretty good. The wind dies down as I take the last shot and it hits a bit left, but I'm still very happy with the results. So, in conclusion, I have to say that I really like the Cricket. It may not be the most comfortable gun to shoot with or the most pretty gun you've ever seen, but damn is it accurate. If it's performance that matters to you, then this gun might very well end up in your cabinet somewhere along the line. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.